From hype to heartbreak, why Skaventide might be set to fail.
Spiky Bits.
Welcome back, Hobby Maniacs. I'm Rob Barry from SpikyBits.com. In this video, I wanted to kind of talk about some ideas and maybe do a little future casting, so to speak, about why Skaventide might be set to fail, both from the perspective of game store owners, and also, the consumer, like folks probably watching this right here. And I didn't want to be all like super inflammatory and the folks that just get on here and yell, chemtrails and all that stuff. But I want to look at as close as we can get to the facts about what's going on at Games Workshop, and also what's going on with game stores and where they're at right now in their headspace, their mentality, and also probably you guys too, because I know everybody out there, it's tough. The economy is in one of the worst places it's been in most of our lifetimes. And, I think not everybody's going to be buying a $260 some, $50 some box set, at least here in the States, right? So let's take a look at it and try to be, kind of look at it big picture. And please, definitely weigh in on the comments and let us know what you're thinking and what, if you plan on buying it, or where you plan on buying it from. There's going to be a bunch of splits and everything on eBay. Everybody always pre-sells this stuff ahead of time, and it's all going to unfold very shortly. Hopefully we can get this video out pretty quick, but let's jump right into it. So here is the details on the actual box set. We figured out how much it would cost already based on the Games Workshop giveaway. So we have the US dollar price, which is $265, the Australian dollar price, which seems like a lot. Yikes. The Great Britain pound price and the euro price. It doesn't seem like that is going to be adjusted for price increases or anything. That's just what it is. They put this out ahead of time. The contents of the box look great. I mean, taking it away from the price, which I think we did a breakdown, and they end up being about $4 a figure. You get 75 figures in here, I believe. And the average price is $3.58, it looks like. So, I mean, as far as box sets go, you figure you get 10 multi-part kit models for $60 now. So, I mean, in essence, it is a bit of a savings. They also said that the Skaven clan rats were going to be like 2-part. So they're going to probably be ETB push fit, which is huge. If you're a Skaven player, you need a lot of models and you don't want to be assembling 10 different parts on, I don't even know how many models, probably a lot more than most armies. So there is that to consider. So there's some pros and cons right off the bat to the price. Another pro just to the whole box set is the fact that you're getting the General's Handbook in here. Also, the hard copy version of the Spearhead rules, which I think they're trying to push really hard this time around. And the fact that they have all the Vanguards, which are now technically Spearhead boxes, just that you can pick it up and play right off the shelf and, supposedly over your lunch hour or something. So value-wise, and it's got some terrain in here too. But I mean, if you own a 3D printer, I feel like you have some terrain as well in this day and age. So there's definitely that for you right there. So I don't know, make that determination for yourself. The price point is good, but you're kind of pigeonholed into purchasing a large container for all this stuff. You do get the rule book, you do get the extra bells and whistles inside of here. So I think for a lot of folks that are really into Sigmar, this is going to be a pickup for them. Now, is this going to be a casual pickup? Well, that's kind of what we got to figure out. Or is this box set going to be something that the folks that want just the Skaven, are they just going to go ahead and get the Skaven off eBay and get the splits, right? But at the end of the day, Games Workshop might not care about that as much, because those folks are still buying it and they're still getting listed, and these listings aren't getting taken down for for something that obviously violates their trade sales policy that they brought out in 2013, where they said, hey, if you have a trade sales account, you cannot break down these boxes into their parts and sell them online, the end period, in any form, any way possible. But there's a lot of people that do it. There's a lot of people, no game store with their name on it does it, but there's plenty of eBay accounts that seem to do it, and some websites that crop up from time to time that do it as well. So they seem to just let it go. And here we are today. So obviously, if you want Skaven Clan Rats out of the new box, you can get Skaven Clan Rats out of the new box. So that is the what. Now let's talk about the why. So why would game stores and possibly Games Workshop have a hard time selling these boxes in 2024? I mean, the rules look great. We've seen all sorts of previews. I mean, these miniatures look great. It does seem to have some sort of value, but why would stores not want to maybe bring in a bunch of copies of this? And I think depending on how long you've been in the hobby, or perhaps in playing Sigmar, you may already kind of know where I'm going with this. And yep, it's Dominion. So back in 2021, Dominion was the starter set for 3rd edition Age of Sigmar, and it was a bit of a shit show that kind of happened and kind of really, I guess it was one of the earlier ways that kind of imparted on everybody that Games Workshop was pulling these, what they've been accused of in the past as these FOMO, fear of missing out tactics. And this might be one of the biggest examples of them doing it to game stores themselves directly, their trade sales accounts. Because what happened was, in earlier in the year, they had already started kind of messing with stores on this stuff, like, throttling back, or saying, you only get 2 or you only get 3. And that was the allocations before they changed their whole sales policy about how it's basically a 3-week pre-order period currently. And, you don't always get what you want. You have to fill out this Google form, and then you still might not get what you asked for, but they put it into some big data bank in the sky and figure out how many are going where. So what Games Workshop did with this was, and this was only a $200 box, mind you, in 2021, which may be the equivalent to a $265 box in 2024, the way inflation's going, right? So what they did was they had, a lot of stuff in here, a lot of value. They put the rule book in here. You had all sorts of stuff in here too. This was just all the release stuff. But what happened was, it came out very quickly that Games Workshop was going to cut people's orders. And the stores were just really confused what was going on. And the reasoning that they said was that they had extra shipments coming in, and that they didn't have everything in their warehouse, which is kind of come on, guys. You don't have all of this stuff already in your warehouse ready to go right now. Now, granted, there was a bunch of shipping and port delays and things back then, et cetera, but still. So I think what happened was they asked everybody for their numbers, and they said, hey, do you want these packages? We got these packages. You can get all these things. We want to sell you 30 copies. And I think some stores bid on it, but I think some stores didn't. Not as many as Games Workshop wanted to bite on it. And I think at that point they crunched the numbers and they realized that they had way more copies of this stuff than they actually were going to be able to sell. And then that's when everything went south, because a couple days later, they all of a sudden they asked everybody for their numbers. They're like, hey, we want to sell you this stuff. And then all of a sudden, 2 days later, they're like, oh, whoa, hold up, guys. We're not sure how many we have now. We're gonna cut your order in half, and we're gonna get you more of it later on. But you have to get that number that you already told us 2 days ago. But now we're not sure when we're gonna get it all to you. Okay, is that cool? I mean, it has to be cool, because you just told stores that they have to still get that number, even though you're not sure when they're going to get that whole number. But, maybe it'll be down the road when people don't want this stuff, or maybe it'll be next week. Who knows? It just seemed very scummy right off the bat. If I was a game store and you're like, wait, you want me to give you this money 2 weeks ahead of time, or a week ahead of time, and then you're not sure when I'm going to get my product to sell people, or if they're even going to want it. I don't know about that. Well, that's exactly what happened. And it got worse. And it got worse because, well, one, folks just didn't want this box set. And stores didn't order it, and people didn't want it. But stores were stuck with these 30 copies that said they wanted the 30 copies. And then Games Workshop was like, oh crap, we got a ton of these. They might have been trying to create some FOMO, saying this to stores, and then hoping that people would go on the site and pre-order it later in that week, and it would sell out and they'd be saved. But that's not what happened, because the following Adepticon, they gave multiple pallets of these things to Adepticon for prize support. And that was, this was in July, that was in March of the next year. It was in full view of so many people. It was all over Facebook. Everybody noticed it. They're like, whoa, that's a lot of Dominions. And then they also went to the liquidators too. So it was obvious that Games Workshop was stuck. As a matter of fact, let's see, I think I have a tab open here where, yes, so still right now on eBay, you can get the Dominion box set, $110. We just saw it was $200. $110 with $10 shipping. This is a big box. I mean, dude, if I went to Adepticon and I got a VIG bag and I got this thing in it, I'd be happy, because I think those things aren't even $110 for the VIG bag, or if it is, it's pretty close. I'd be super happy. But I'll tell you what, I wouldn't be super happy if I was a game store getting pigeonholed into this. So fast forward to 3 years later, and let's talk about that. Poof, we're in the future. So it's 2024, summer. Things are wild, y'all. The economy, crazy, right? What happened out there? I don't even know anymore. But, you know, we still got our toys. We still got stuff like that. Unfortunately for game stores, again, and maybe a lot of y'all that play 40K or other stuff, not so much on the Sigmar side of things, it's been really hard to get product. Like, if you wanted a Battle Force, which was a great deal on all these Battle Forces that have been coming out, you probably haven't been able to get it, which is sad, because they've been really cool looking, and you know, they always have a new figure inside of them, which I think is one of the major draws if it doesn't have the rule book or the codex. But with the way the codex books are selling right now, according to stores, I don't think they're having a problem selling the codexes. So I doubt we're going to see codexes bundled with things going forward, right? I think we're in some sort of transition period of content. So we know the Games Workshop said, and I know I harp on this in like every video, but Games Workshop said, hey, we're gonna sell out. Well, I don't know where it is in here, but it's in here somewhere. Hey, we're gonna sell out. It's a specific strategy, and they have definitely said it. And we know the numbers of their trade partners, which are stores. We know the number of their stores, et cetera, right? So here in the States, they have just as many stores as the Hobbytown franchise. They have about 100 stores, give or take. Same with Hobbytown, it fluctuates. They go in, they go out, whatever. So we know about what they're producing because of what they allocate to stores. If they allocate two of this box set to most stores, they probably only made 14,000 plus whatever they put on their website, which, you know, we've seen in the past is roughly 25% or 29%, I think it was, of their sales. So we can kind of extrapolate some numbers from that, I suppose. But here's the problem. And game stores are obviously having a hard time. You're probably having a hard time in your finances as well. So for Games Workshop to come along and be like, hey, we got this dope box set. It's $260. How many do you want? Well, I think what's going to happen to a lot of people is game stores are going to remember what happened with Dominion. Folks are going to look at their wallets and be like, man, I don't know. There's going to be obviously the people that always buy in, and that's great. You know, I'm very glad that you're in a great place, and this is what makes you happy, and definitely please still buy this box from somebody. But there's also going to be, I think, a lot more folks on the fence this time around for this box. So let's crunch some numbers real quick, because every Battle Force since April has been allocated to stores, and it has cost them money, potentially money that they would spend on Skaventide. But even more importantly, let's look at how much money they've missed out on, and maybe how much money Games Workshop themselves has missed out on from the last fiscal year, because their fiscal year just switched on the 1st of June 2024. So we're actually in 2024 business year for Games Workshop right now, whereas we just were in 2023 when all these Battle Forces were going down and going, you know, getting allocated to stores, even though it doesn't seem like it. Time's weird in the future. It's hard to figure out. So let's do some math. I got a spreadsheet here, and this is all gut math. This is not like actual provable, verifiable maths or anything like that. This is just like straight shooting from the hip gut math that gives you an interesting look at things. I mean, if you're in the store just doing some quick like sales math, percentage math, this is probably what you do too. And I don't think there's anything wrong with it. Again, I'm not an analyst. I like to think I am. You know, I'm not even a math guy. I took some math in college and a little business, and here we are. So thank you for listening. All right. So this is all the Battle Forces that have come out since April. And you can see we got the Custodes deal. We've got the Orc Battle Force, the 2 Chaos Battle Forces, the Sorotas, and the Gene Stealer Cult Battle Forces here. This is the approximate sales price in US dollars, the cost in US dollars to stores. Generally, I don't like to talk about that, but I think I've talked about it enough in the past. And I think everybody knows that, you know, about what the profit margins are on this stuff here. Yeah, stores got to make money. There's profit on everything. Just because we can do a math value doesn't mean that Walmart isn't making 80% profit or 20% profit. I think grocery stores make on average 3% profit a year. But that being said, don't use this math against your local game store and be like, I know what you paid for that. Well, it doesn't matter what they paid for it. It doesn't matter at all. They can't pay the bills if they don't sell it for the price they're supposed to sell it for. Anyways, so here's what's going on. And I kind of slid this stuff out of the way here. So let's just say you're an average game store, right? And you thought maybe perhaps you could sold 10 of these battle forces. Unfortunately not able to, because Games Workshop allocated you to these numbers, which were all roughly 2 up to the Adeptus Sororitas and the Gene Star Cult battle forces, where they gave stores roughly 5. And this was the maximum. This wasn't what every store got. This was just the maximum I heard from a lot of different stores, okay? Which also kind of factors into my quick math here. So here's just on average the potential money lost per store if they're, let's say, an average size store and sold 10 of these battle forces. I think most folks have seen 10 of these go change hands at Christmas time at most stores, and we'll just say this is an average store. If you can give me a convincing reason why this isn't an average store, please do so in the comments. But this is what I'm using as a baseline. So this is your average money lost since April, which technically was only 2 months ago. So that's 2 bill pay, paying your employees, paying your utilities, paying your rent. This is roughly what game stores lost based on the allocations from Games Workshop, and that's $4,136 perhaps on average, which is a big number. That could be 2 rent payments right there for a lot of stores. That could be a lot of things for a lot of stores, or more importantly, money in their pockets, or just money back into the store to grow and do more things. Now let's talk about some numbers here, right? Let's say, and we know there's 7,000 trade partners, because I just showed you a few seconds ago on when the CEO was talking that they have, 6,500 approximate trade partners and 500 stores, 100 of them here in America. So that's 7,000 stores that sell Games Workshop officially, according to them. Let's just say that this is an average store's loss for these products over the last 2 months, that they would have ordered 10 of these box sets. As you can see, that added up pretty quick. $14 million in potential lost sales. And that's just saying that half of their accounts are average size stores, right? That's just spitballing it. I don't know. Then we'll look at this number right here. Let's say that 25% of that 7,000 is higher selling stores. They're the cream of the crop. They are the big stores that you hear about on social media and things like that. Then these would be more reflective of those numbers. I basically doubled the number. So instead of they would have gotten 10, they would have, say we got 20, right? They would have ordered 20. Okay, well, there's those numbers right there. And that's $28 million in potential losses across the board to all those trade partners, right? And then let's say the other 25% of stores are low performers. They don't order that much stuff. They might not even order every week. Who knows? So I basically half that number to 5, right? And that's $7 million in potential lost revenue, right? So going by all of this, if you add all these columns together over the last 2 months, it's possible the Games Workshop has caused, and now this does factor in 525 Games Workshop Warhammer stores, which are independent and operate independently, even though the revenue goes to Games Workshop, but they still have sets of books. There's a potential loss across the board to all their trade partners of $50 million, because in theory, they might not have produced enough of these products and allocated them out. But why is that? Why would they want to lose potentially $50 million? I feel like I made a convincing argument, but please let me know otherwise. Why would Games Workshop want to lose $50 million? Who wants to lose $50 million? Well, actually, Games Workshop themselves didn't lose this much money. This is how much money was potentially left on the table to game stores, anybody that was making margin on this stuff. The actual loss to Games Workshop could have been approximately this number, which is 22 million. And that's taken into a lot of accounts. I mean, that's just basically putting at US cost for these things, but we don't know what Games Workshop charges their Warhammer stores for the product. They might charge them full margin to keep their books and, you know, show profit. That's something that's kind of like the shell game they played with their numbers. We're not really sure. And also, this doesn't take into account other currencies. So this is just in straight American talking worldwide. When, you know, their costs are lower in Britain, their costs are lower than America in Europe. Their costs are definitely lower than pretty much everywhere in Australia, and, or, you know, vice versa, depending on how you do the localized currency. You know what I'm saying? So the farther they get, the more expensive from England, the more expensive it actually is for this stuff. And that's why that's one of the reasons they convert the currency. The other is to arbitrage, but we've talked about that in the past. Anyways, so it's still a significant potential loss to Games Workshop's books. So why would they want to do that? I gotta be honest with you, I don't have the answer for why Games Workshop would want to go out of their way to do that. I think in a lot of cases, yeah, the FOMO is real, but like I said in the last video, if I have this money set aside to buy this product and I can't get this product, and I know I'll never be able to get this product, I'm gonna get whatever makes me happy at the time. I've already spent that money in my mind, so I'm gonna spend it on something that makes me happy. And it might not be a Games Workshop product, it might be I might just be like, you know what, FGW, I'm gonna go buy this other thing from this other company that I actually play more of than the Warhammer, you know, whatever. I don't know at the time, and I don't know how you feel about it, but that's just how I feel about it. So, but maybe Games Workshop's like, oh, well, if they can't get the Chaos Battle Force, they'll get the Chaos Combat Patrol. And I don't know if that's real or they have any data, but really at the end of the day, I think the simplest reasoning, the simplest one step to why something happens generally is the answer. And I don't think there's a vast conspiracy from Games Workshop. I'm sure a lot of people are out there like, Games Workshop, they changed my canon, all these things, and I don't like it anymore. Well, you know what? I don't like that, you know, Disney just said, hey, lightsaber color doesn't matter. That seems kind of silly to me as a person. That just happened, but I'm really into Star Wars. But I mean, whatever, that's their thing. Like, I don't care. I'm still gonna, you know, I still got Star Wars stuff. I'm still like the classics, and that's just me. But I think everybody is different, and a lot of people want to assume things like, oh, Games Workshop did this because of this reason, and they're the worst. I mean, it could just be that they're inept. It could just be that the wrong person is in charge of these things. And it could be that their forecasting has been absolute shit since April. Now, we saw there was more product available for the Soritas and the Genestealer Cult battle forces, but it wasn't that much more. But does that mean that more stuff is going to be available? And I think all of this is going to come to a head for Skaventide. All roads lead to Midas. Now, that's one of my favorite movie quotes in the history of ever. It's from one of the Oceans, I think the first one, Ocean's 11's movie. All the roads come to money. This hobby, outside of this hobby, everything that's going on right now in the outside world, it all comes back to money. So when you step up to the register, just vote with your hobby dollars. That's all you got to do. Like, if Skaventide isn't a value to you, don't buy it. Don't pre-order it. Get what is a value to you. Just getting the rule book out of there might be a value to you. Just ordering the rule book, or just getting this Skaven clan rats out of there might be a value to you. I wrote this back 3 years ago, talking about Dominion and the situation with Dominion. And maybe there will be change from that. Maybe Skaventide will go over better this year. Maybe they didn't produce as many. It doesn't seem like they're producing as much things right now anyways. But how will that translate into the stock available on the day? And even if it actually is limited and they don't have enough of these things to go around, we know that they're going to make different versions. It's like the Russian nesting doll of these starter sets. You will be able to get these figures in some sort of configuration. And at some point in the next 2 to 3 years, you'll be able to buy the sprue with like the cool stuff on it for like $100, because they always do that with this stuff. So you will be able to get all of these things at some point. That is a fact. So whether it is limited or it isn't limited, just try to vote with your hobby dollars. If it's a value to you, scoop it up. If it isn't, or if you just want it a different way, just do that. And I think at the end of the day, this release might go pretty well, but it also might definitely be poised to fail pretty bad, just like Dominion did. But only time will tell. Games Workshop staff trade sales here in the States is actually off today. They are being trained, allegedly, rumor is they are being trained on, the release of Skaventide. We know it's coming July 13th. It may go up for pre-order or they may announce it this Sunday, which I don't know when this video is coming out, but I guess that Sunday will be Father's Day on the 16th, and it may go up for pre-order on the 22nd, although we've seen some indication that it might be a week later. But remember, with these bigger box sets, Games Workshop tends to do an extended pre-order period, and there is the 4th of July in there to consider as well, that their staff's probably going to want off too. So if I had to guess, I would say the pre-order period is going to be the 22nd, but it could be as late as the 29th for delivery on July 13th, 2024. So that is it for this one. I think I've talked way too long, and please let me know your thoughts on all of this, because it has been a long and winding road over the past 3 years since Dominion came out. And now we have a brand new 4th edition and some really cool looking Skaven models, to be quite honest, that I think are going to be rather popular with hobbyists. The question is, how are they going to buy them? So that's it for this one. Thank you very much for watching our video. Make sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications to be the very first to like and comment on all our future videos.